loves. Welcome back to another episode of The Mind of Reese. If you are watching this on Spotify or YouTube, I definitely have this like halo effect going on. I feel like the sun is just like glowing around me right now. I guess it's just that time of day. I'm about to head out to yoga, so I think it's 222 actually. It's 222 right now. You're welcome for your angel number. That means you are in the right place. So I feel like I have this halo thing going on. So if you're seeing that, that's awesome. I'm also distracted very easily. That's that ADHD brain. All right. So hello, everybody. I hope everybody's ready for today. Today's is essentially like a training. It's a training. So I would grab your notebooks, grab your pencils, get yourself ready for something, for a wild ride, because we're going to be talking about the secret to selling out your offers and experiences without launching. And what I mean by that is that like there's no front-facing launching. Like I was having this conversation with some of the people that I mentor, and we were talking about how yummy it is when we don't have to do a front face launch. We're like, num, 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 num. That feels like so much freedom. Gimme, 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 gimme. Put it in my mouth. Like, I'm eating that shit up. Give me all the freedom. Give me all the time freedom. This is really where you've built a fucking iconic, undeniable, standout brand where you literally can send out an email and you're like, I'm booked out and I'm this, that, and I'm selling out offers and I'm selling out educational spaces and all of this good shit. And so the thing is that like, I want to have an elevated conversation with you. Like, can I do that? Can I ask you that? Can I ask for that in this room? I'm going to ask, but since I can't hear you, I'm just going to assume since you're listening that you're saying yes. But I just got to say, consent is sexual. Consent is sexy. That's why I ask. I'm like, hey, can I ask you this question? Can we have a higher elevated conversation? I feel like every time I'm having a death and rebirth in my own business, I got to take you along for the ride. And so I want to just really call it out. I just want to call it out. I'm going to call it out. Being booked out is the bare minimum. Let me say it again. The goal to being booked out is the bare minimum. That's like, duh. Yes, of course I want to be booked out. I no longer want to have that conversation. I want to have an elevated conversation. Now, this conversation that I'm about to have with you does not negate or neglect the fact that it will get you booked out. And I also believe that it will do so much more than that for you. That's the whole point of having a brand. The brand is all about really having a scalable business that allows you this long-term legacy to be in all of your passions so that you can just create income through all the things that you want to do, whatever you're doing, whether you're tattooing or you're an artist or you're a fine artist or a painter or a brand photographer or you are a coach, somatic healer, practitioner, Reiki healer, whatever it is. I'm just going to lump you all into artist because at this point in time, if you are building a brand or a business, you are an artist. You are a creative entrepreneur. And when I say artist, I mean you. You are listening here. It doesn't matter what kind of artist you are. No matter what you are, we are all doing the same thing. We're all creative entrepreneurs here, trying to sell our passions, turn them into profit. And if you're here for that, then keep listening. So, like I said, being booked out is the bare minimum. You show up, you create consistently, you build relationships, you'll get booked out. It's not rocket science. When we're here to create transformation, when we are building transformational relationships versus transactional ones, it's what happens. You will be booked out. However, what happens when you build a brand that is so undeniable that other people start using your name to sell their offers, when brands want you repping their cause, or when other artists are talking shit about you just to get attention, that's when you know you're not just a service provider, you're a whole fucking movement. And what's so funny about this is that just the other day I had posted a post about a cause that I'm deeply involved with and I love them, Hope versus Cancer, creating temporary tattoos for young warrior fighters, in the fight of their lives with cancer. And this is just like to literally just give them a little boost, a leg up, something that can really up their own morale, to remember that they are still them. And although they're going through this very hard situation that they are tough little fuckers. You know what I mean? That they're tough warriors here. And so that's what I love about it. And so I'm doing this like free giveaway, tattoo all-inclusive giveaway where it's like flights, stays, 2 days of tattooing with me, just for a donation. All proceeds go to this thing. And when Hope versus Cancer hit me up, I was like, hell yeah, I'm so ready for this. But there's a reason why they hit me up. It's not just because, oh, Reese is, amazing and she's going to do this really nice thing. No, it's because they know that they're going to leverage my brand to spread their message. And since their message and values match my message and values, it's good. It's good for everyone because that's my value. I'm like, yeah, I want to heighten the morale. I want to, bring awareness to really beautiful causes. And this is the reason why we build fucking brands, to make massive impact. I was going to say make mad impact, make massive impact on the masses, on people. And, what's funny is that coinciding with me posting this thing, which by the way, I believe we've already with one post, we have already exceeded the donations of $5,000. I think we're at $7,000 with one post. Just one. We haven't even gotten started yet. And this is just one post. We had over 200 people apply and comment, right? However many of those people decided to click the thing in their DMs, to go out of their way to click it in their DMs, to go purchase, to put their credit card in, to go help out, to enter into this digital fundraiser. And then, to coincide with all of that, I think there was like 100 people that shared it, 200 people that commented on it. It was just like massive, massive engagement, beautifully done. The content was very well thought out. I was very specific. I'm going to get into that right now. And of course, on the other side of this, I get someone tagging me in something where they're utilizing my name and the way that I do something as the wrong way so that they can up-level their brand and, sell their offer, which I thought was kind of fucking hilarious. And I felt like I made it now at this point when another person, artist, educator, is saying that I'm all the things wrong in the industry or whatever. I forget what was said. But then they were selling a marketing course. And I was like, wow. I love it. I felt like Hormozy all of a sudden. All of a sudden it was like people utilize big name brands to shit on so that they can get more attention because they're shitting on someone and create controversy and create activation within someone's body. So whether or not, whatever it is that their attention they're trying to grab, they're getting the attention because there was a lot of things that people had controversy over it because I had, obviously people that do like me are in there, being warriors for a girl, and the people that don't like me are agreeing and maybe buying his product. You know what? Kudos to you. And I'm like, fucking A. That's how you know you've built a movement. Because this isn't another, with this podcast, isn't just another how to get more client situation. This is about building a brand so iconic, so fucking magnetic that your name carries weight beyond what you sell. And if that sounds like the level you are ready to play at, I want you to keep listening. So get your notes out. Let's go, go, go. So the first thing I want you to do, if you want to build a brand like that, where you're just like, damn, people are talking about me at the dinner table and they're having controversial conversations about you. This happens to me a lot, but when someone's using it to sell their own product, that I think was the first time. I was like, wow, I kind of love it. I am not mad at it. It's amazing. So I always think about this. The number one thing that you do whenever I think about creating an iconic brand is the safe haven. So I talk about this a lot in my spaces. I was having a conversation with people from members of my Beyond the Stars container and in the ARC and even in my Scale Mastermind where we're having these conversations of I'm getting booked out. I'm booked out. What next? And I'm like, this is it. It's we don't want to just build a brand to get booked out. We want to build a brand to build a fucking legacy to where that I'm always I'm always finding new ways to buy my time back, to become more free in my business, to travel all the world and make money while I do it, to hang out with my family and make money while doing it, to tattoo and make money while doing it, to do whatever the fuck I want and make money while doing it, while still impacting so many fucking lives and offering so much transformation and so many incredible results to the people that come into my spaces, that say yes to themselves and say yes to this opportunity to change their own lives, their own identity. Like, let's fucking go. So we got to create the safe haven effect. So have you ever felt like have you ever wondered why some brands feel like home? Why you find yourself gravitating towards certain people, certain spaces over and over again? That's the safe haven effect. The brands that win long term aren't just talented, they're anchoring. They give people a feeling of safety, identity, and trust. And when I say anchoring, it's funny because I have my Passions to Profit iconic brand method, which is our first step out of the 7-part process, is anchoring. Because when your brand becomes a home for your audience's desires, dreams, and identities, you don't have to chase the clients. They come to you. So what creates this effect? Well, there are 3 things. Number 1, emotional anchor. This is emotional mastery. This is emotional intelligence, really. EQ is what the cool kids are calling it these days. Emotional anchoring. So what this means is what people feel when they engage with your brand. What people feel when they engage with your brand. But how do you get to the emotional anchor? Well, hello. As your somatic facilitator, your somatic meditation facilitator and teacher, we always start with us. We start with the inner work. We start with who we are and deepening the relationship to ourselves so that we can anchor into our own ability to trust, to stay, to own who the fuck we are, so that when we share that in the online space, what people feel is they feel you. And all of you, not just a part of you, not just the part you want them to feel, but they feel this And if you do not have the audacity to be exactly who you are and to hold that with a level of conviction that people can feel through the screen from their nervous system to yours, then you're not creating an emotional anchor. You're not creating the safe haven effect. So that's number 1. Number 2, you have the authority factor. This is where your name alone holds weight and people trust what you say. It's because you know how to literally, verbally and non-verbally demonstrate your values. What I mean by that is that your content, your captions, your messaging, everything about you exudes what it is you believe in, what it is your brand believes in, and what you are willing to talk about and simplify every single day. So when I'm talking about simplification, I create educational spaces for creative entrepreneurs who desire to build brands that are so iconic that make them famous, build a business that pays them like one, and a nervous system that is wired for wealth, freedom, and soul fucking expression. So when I'm thinking about all of these things that I help do in the transformational aspect, I talk about it and I simplify it in ways that helps people make sense. Make it make sense in their mind. We're helping people make it make sense in their mind. How about that? That's what authority factor is where someone just sees you in all of your glory, not just something you say, but you are embodied in it. This is becoming an embodied creative entrepreneur, because at the end of the day, you're not just saying it, you're walking your talk. You're believing in what you're doing. You're owning who the fuck you are. And you're also pushing against your edges. You know, if growth is a value, then relatability is not a value. If you listen to my last podcast, I was talking about is relatability a value? And I'm like, if relatability is a value and growth is a value, you're contradicting yourself, because growth means that you are always going to push to the edges of your next level. And being relatable means that you want to just stay comfy in the comfort zone and be a brand that gets kind of drowned out with the masses. So it doesn't quite compute. So this is where people begin to really trust you, because they actually see you as the embodied version and the identity that they desire. Okay. And the third thing to create the safe haven effect is the inside club effect. It's like this insider's trade, the insider's scoop, right? Your brand doesn't just sell, it creates belonging. Now, these are the three things psychologically that you need. But when I think about it from like a visual standpoint, there's so much that I would love to go into. We're not going to get into that now. But there's so much visually that your brand needs to have in order for it to be that high level yet holistic and grounded space that you want it to be. I know that that's probably what you wanted because that's what I want. And I'm only calling in the type of people that get what I want because they like what I got and they're like, yeah, I want that too. That's how I'm creating the safe haven effect. Is that I'm very niche in the way that I talk to people, which is something we're going to get into in a second. But I'm also very open in the way that what my offerings are. I don't box myself in. So I want you to think about it. Like when we're talking about the safe haven effect, think about this. Like you don't follow people just because they post great content. You follow them because something about them makes you feel a certain way. And this isn't about visibility. It's about undeniability. It's like, it's undeniable. This person wakes me up every time they share a piece of content, every time they share a part of what they believe in, every time they are in the online space, showing up, sharing the thing, right? So the problem that you might be running into is that you're probably thinking that you're doing all the right things. And, I feel like the things that are online are very basic and actually will get you booked out. Like I truly believe that every single way that is taught out there, every strategy out there works. Every single one. It just depends if you know yourself well enough to know and embodied in this relationship to know yourself well enough to know what is the right one for you and what's sustainable for you. That's the only difference. Most people are just grasping at every strategy, don't even giving a shit about what it is that's good for them. They're just like, well, it worked for this person, let me try it. Well, it worked for that person. Well, I can't even stay around, da, 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 da. So I'm just like, bro, calm your tits. Bring it down a notch, okay? Because you're probably doing, quote unquote, all the right things, which is you're posting consistently. Maybe even you're posting fucking daily. You're doing the carousels and the reels and long form captions and the quick hit posts. You're showing up on the stories. You're talking to the camera, being relatable, sharing your process, your coffee, your client wins. You're giving free value. You're teaching, you're educating, you're writing your how-to posts. You are showing your processes, sharing the behind the scenes, letting people know, letting people in on the experience, hoping that if you help enough people will trust you enough to buy. You're following the trends. You're hopping on viral audios, maybe you lip syncing a little bit, adding captions in yellow font because that's what converts, right? I noticed that a lot. You've niched down. You maybe even niche down so much to the point now you feel boxed in and feel like you're talking about the same thing over and over and over again, hoping something clicks. You've optimized the bio. You've done the bio audits. You've done the Instagram audits. You made sure your CTA is fucking strong, that you had a clear through line and a message that says, X, Y, and Z, whatever it is. You cleaned up your highlights. You pinned your best work to the top of your page, and you've invested in courses. You're like, maybe even coaching. You're thinking that if I just got the right strategy, things would take off. And we're still feeling like we're at a standstill. We're like, and we're still hearing crickets, and it's like, hello, anybody there? Right? You're still feeling like you're talking to a wall half the time, and you're like, what the fuck is happening, right? Because doing all the right things mean nothing if your brand blends in. You don't stand out just by being consistent. You don't become a category leader just by following a fucking blueprint. And you don't build an iconic brand just by providing value. I'm going to tell you a thing. Everybody's doing it. Everybody's really being smart and intentional these days because they're starting to see okay. Not everyone. I would say a good 50% of them. But then can we get to the 1%? That's where we're going, baby. Teach you how to get to the 1%. Let's go. So what actually makes people buy, right? I'm sorry, I'm entertaining my damn self. I'm entertaining my damn self. Oh gosh, fix the bangs. I gotta fix my bangs. So what actually makes people buy? It's not the post. It's not the value. It's not the offer. It's the moment they see themselves so clearly in your content that they can't ignore you. Where your brand is falling flat, I'm going to get really brutally honest. If you're feeling stuck, chances are that your audience doesn't feel like you're speaking directly to them. They think you're just speaking to the masses. Just like, because you're like, I'm so afraid to appeal just to the one person that might get this one little tiny joke or insight or something. And so I want to be broad enough to that I'm not blocking anybody out, or I'm not kicking anybody to the curb or leaving anybody behind, right? You're talking about what it is that they need. Oftentimes, especially if you are, all of us artists, we're all as coaches, photographers, fine artists, tattooers, holistic healers, we're all trying to help people with self-expression. That's one. Wherever I'm doing like brand audits for like Beyond the Stores or Scale, I'm like, everybody's like, I just want to help people be more self-expressed. And I'm like, how does that feel when you say that? I just want to help people be more self-expressed through tattoos, through coaching, through somatic meditation, through whatever. And you're like, I feel nothing. And I feel nothing, right? Because you're like, okay, this is exact, like you're speaking to the desire of the self-expression, but what's the problem? The problem is that they're not self-expressed, but what is the actual problem? Like, you're not talking about the exact thoughts that they're having at 2 a.m. when they're spiraling. There was a post today that I saw that I was like, this is so fucking good. If a tattoo artist would utilize this, or a weight loss coach would utilize this, or something of this nature. All the post was, it said them. Did you marry him? And then it said me 6 months from now. All she did was hold open her pants and how much weight she lost, and then showed a new tattoo on there. And obviously she didn't marry the fucking guy. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, she was like, well, can't you see I had a whole identity shift on this experience. So it's like in those moments, it's like, can I, who is it that you're actually helping, right? Like for me, my clients are creative entrepreneurs. They're all entrepreneurs. I have not met a single person that's not an entrepreneur or that is not going through some gnar midlife crisis. Like, come on now. You know what I mean? When it comes to my tattoo clients. So when they see me talking about specificity online and that kind of thing, they're like, oh, I want close proximity because I might just get a free one-on-one business coaching session while I'm getting tattooed. Or I'm gonna have a somatic therapist to walk me through my midlife fucking crisis. Like that. So if I'm gonna talk in the online space about my tattoos, which I do often, it's always like in that space of like, if I were to be inviting more people into my space, which at this point I'm not because my emailing list is so full, I send one email and I get booked out 6 months in advance. That's the whole point of not having to do a front face launch. It's like, yes, I've built a movement where people just move. I don't even have to talk about it online. I don't even have to say anything on Instagram. I'm like celebrating we had like 2 or 3 people just yesterday talking about how they're booked out without front-facing launches. They didn't even have to post anything online. And I'm like, bet. And we've been working together 9 months. Get a full year with me and Beyond the Stars. So it's like 9 months? You get to do that in 9 months where you weren't booking out anything at the beginning and you had to do a few launches before then and now you're booking out now? Like, gangster fucking moves. 9 months. People are like, oh, but it takes forever. I just want to book out now. Nah, dude. This ain't for you. This place ain't for you. If all you want to do is get booked out and that's your high-end goal, I'm definitely not for you. If your high-end goal, your minimum goal is just to get booked out, you're in the right place, baby. So it's like you have to be specific. So your brand feels generic and it doesn't feel specific. So you're explaining the concepts, but are you actually describing the moment that they're in? Are you narrating their exact frustration in a way that makes them say, holy shit, that's me? Like that girl, when she posted that post of like, did you marry him? And then she's like, 6 months later, she's like, obviously not, by saying obviously not. It's like, tell me that you broke up with him without telling me you broke up with him, and then you show a weight loss and a new tattoo. Like, come on. Like, she just basically non-verbally told me exactly what is going on in her life without having to explain it to me. That's fucking simplification. That's people seeing her as like the go-to person for like, yes, I see myself in this person. So how can you turn that into a fucking like a fucking moment? It's like, how can I describe this? You know, it's like all those times that it like getting a tattoo is like all those times you felt like you were waking up in the middle of the night knowing that you needed to break up with your fucking boyfriend but not wanting to because you wanting to stay the same. All those times that your mom told you that you would regret it and you've wanted to prove her wrong that you would never regret it, but you didn't. Now you're doing it. Prove that bitch wrong. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, take them into the fucking moment where they see themselves like, holy shit, this person is me. Like, oh my God, it's amazing, right? Because your brand, if you're specific, you're no longer generic, right? And lastly, where your brand's probably falling flat is that your messaging isn't making them feel anything. And messaging comes in verbal and nonverbal. Demonstration, your education, you're like educating, you're not activating. You're like, here, I've got tattoos. Here, I do photography. Here, I'm, I am a coach, whatever it is. Like, whatever it is, you're educating, you're not activating. And people don't buy information, they buy an emotional response. So let's talk about what that looks like in real life. Okay. So let's say you're a tattoo artist selling custom high-end work, and if your content sounds like, book your next tattoo with me. I specialize in fine line and black work. Let's create something beautiful. It's blending in. That's a blend in. You're blending in. That's what everyone would say. Now, think about it. Like, now imagine this. You write. She kept scrolling. She screenshot a tattoo she loved but never booked anything because every time she thought about getting it done, she heard her mom's voice, are you sure? What if you regret it? But the thing is, the person she was 5 years ago isn't who she is now. And this isn't just a tattoo, it's a mark of who she is becoming, right? There's a bit of a difference there. Now, I wrote that down and I had it up in my notes because I was like, that sounded awesome. Now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm like, we could go deeper with that shit. It's like, how can I even go even more specific? What real life instances have happened in my life, which there were many, of where I have felt that I couldn't use my voice and instead I used my body. So many times in my life that I could go straight into a moment where I'm like, yeah, where your whole family is so in the church and you feel like you can't be fully expressed, and the only way to actually bleed your rebelliousness is to put it on your body because you don't have the wherewithal to say it yet. So you're like, I'm going to put it on my body so that I can feel more confident to say it after, right? So that I can embody the person I desire to become so I can say it after. Like, oh, Malanta, like, how can I make that even more juicy, more, like, in the moment? It's, like, even, like, conversations with my own father. Like, I'm like, let's go deeper. Or a woman calling me out, telling me I'll never get a job, and da-da-da-da, and it's like, look at me now, bitch. Like, it's like all of these things. Like, let's go deeper into it. The difference is one is the offer. Like, book your next tattoo, I specialize in fine line. One is an offer. The other is a moment. One asks for attention, the other one demands it. Okay, so movements over marketing, how sales become inevitable. So sales is not just about selling. It's about seeing one person really deeply every single time you write. It's not about persuasion. It's about recognition. And the exact moment someone decides to buy, it's not when they see your offer. It's when they feel so seen, so called out, so understood that they don't even question if they should buy. It's just obvious to them. It's like breathing, natural, unquestioned. Because when you've built a movement, when your brand has presence, you don't have to launch to fill your offers. They sell out because people are already waiting. You post once, the DMs flood in. You mention an idea, people ask when they can pay you, not if. You shift your focus and your audience shifts with you because they're invested in your brand, not just your current offer. This is why I love building a brand and a movement, because now I can be in my evolution and people are just following along with me. I've owned my brand for 14 years and I've evolved so much. Oh, so much over those 14 years. And I have people from the very beginning still here. I mean, they love every new iteration. They don't mind any price point change. They keep coming back. Not because the work is the most magnificent fucking thing in the world, but it's because I believe it and I hold conviction in that I will give you the best experience to the best of my ability, and I promise you, you won't fucking regret it. I don't have to say it. They just know it. They feel it from me. This is also why it's so important to having masculine back-end systems and is actually really feminine. It's a feminine flow because a brand that is truly supported, one that has the right structures, the right positioning, the right demand, gets to move with ease. So now all these back-end systems I have, everybody's being pulled off of the Instagram because I don't trust that motherfucker. I don't need some president telling me what I can and cannot do on a fucking asset profile nonsense app. Go fuck yourself. I don't want no man having any control of who I get to speak to, who I don't get to speak to. You want to shut down an app? Fucking do it. I got people on the back-end systems because we build them. Because you build a diehard community on your back-end systems, then now you already have it templated. It's like anytime I have a new offer in my mind, I'm like, ooh, you know what? I want to do ceremonial tattooing. I want to hold a retreat. I want to build this seminar. I literally have templates for my websites, for my landing pages, for many chats, for the email sequences that go out, that upsell and downsell people. And that's how we make cash every single day while we make money. It's like, let me make money while I make money. Let me make money while I'm hanging out with my dog or with my family, or while I'm, practicing making babies, or while I'm, hanging out with Aunt Sally, or, just going and doing some motherfucking yoga and meditating. I'm building a brand that gives me fucking freedom in all capacities. In all capacities, freedom within, freedom without. Financial freedom with wealthy inside, financial freedom outside. I'm building generational wealth before I even have a generation to give it to. That's where I'm at. I don't give a fuck. That's what I want. I want to build something that's so yummy, juicy, and makes me want to just spread its legs and you know what I mean? Did it go? Just makes me want to go banana crazy. Mama, see, this is where my imagination just goes too crazy. Too many fantasy books. Choke me out, daddy. Choke me out, shadow daddy. Okay, so anyway. So it's I just want to build a brand and a business that I'm just in love with. This is my sexy fucking love affair, and it gets to evolve and shift, and we get to play in our kinky spots, and we get to try new things and new toys and all these things, and people just love it because they're just yes, look at this. She's so fucking open, owns exactly who she is, all of her kinks, all of her quirks, all of her genius, all of her crazy, batshit crazy ADHD brain that can't pay attention and don't give a fucking shit. That's where it's truly, that's a business that I'm yes, this is freedom. So it's so important that you have this masculine energy behind things. You have this masculine structure and support, because then now everything gets to move with ease. And that ease, that's the most powerful thing that you can have in a business. Because when your movement is strong enough, you don't have to be in a constant state of look at me, buy from me. And instead, your presence alone holds weight. You don't have to chase the sales because your brand does the work for you. This is why so many people struggle with launching. They think launching is just about hyping up an offer. It's not. It's about activating a pre-existing demand that already exists inside your movement. And it's funny because I wish I knew this at the beginning of my career. I wish I knew this at the beginning of my coaching career, which is only 4 years ago. Had I known this at the beginning of my 14-year journey, it would not have taken me 14 years to get here. But hey, you know what? I love this journey and I don't mind it. I don't regret a single fucking day. And this is the reason why I'm here learning it for you. Now I understand it. I'm dude, let's go. Let's shift paradigms. If you are really willing to walk the walk, let's go. Let's go. Because when you understand this, you realize sales happens before you ever sell. And the biggest mistake people make, they talk around the problem instead of inside the moment. They talk about how to grow on Instagram. Let's say you're a content creator and you're a content contractor, or you're a marketing guru, or whatever it is. You're talking about how to grow on Instagram, and instead of the real feeling, like taking them into the moment, like she sat down at her computer, stared at a screen and tried to write a post. But the moment she did, her brain started to scream, everyone's going to think that this is about them. So she closed her laptop and walked away. How many times have you ever felt in the moment where you were like, I'm going to make a profound post and I want to say all of these things. And then all of a sudden you start talking about it and then it starts not working out right. And you're just like starting to get in your head and you're overthinking it. And then you don't even post anything. Or you post it because you're like, well, I don't want to be too in my feminine, or I don't want to be too vulnerable, and I don't want to be too much, or I want to be too this or too that or whatever it is. And then now all of a sudden it blends in again. But when you're so in it, when you totally understand who your client is, and let's say I was like I am, like, you know, I'm a marketing guru and I'm teaching people, like I'm teaching people content. I'm like, she sat down at her computer and stared at the screen. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm taking you into a moment. And because the thing is if you've been that person that's felt something like that, you don't need to be convinced, you're already sold because I've taken you into a moment. The secret to sales, describe their reality so well that buying isn't a decision, it's just the next step. Because when you create a movement, people don't just want to buy from you, they want to be in your world. They want the identity shift. They want the permission. They want to move. It's about making sure your brand is so undeniable, stand out, iconic, that people are already sold before you even launch. And this is how sales stops feeling so hard. It's like this is how launches stop feeling exhausting, and how business stops feeling like a hustle and starts feeling like yummy, delicious, fucking flowy. Put me in a floaty and give me a kombucha or maybe a margarita and just float me down the river, baby, because I am just here leaning into wherever this river is taking me, right? Because when your brand is that strong, you don't sell, you lead. So you know you're building an iconic brand when your name alone is used to sell things. Like other brands want to represent their cause with you. They're like, yeah. Haters use your work for attention. We talked about that earlier. Or maybe you're flown across the world because your presence is enough. Like the fact that in the beginning of my career, like beginning mid, was when I was getting flown around all over the world, getting paid to go to conventions just so that my face could be on a billboard so they could use my name in order to get more people to come to their convention, was fucking phenomenal. Phenomenal, amazing, blah, 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 whatever that is. Phenomenal. It's phenomenal. But then now as my brand starts shifting, that's still happening. And then now I'm like over here and people are asking me to speak on their stages or teach somatic meditation or teach my own Body Wise and Wealthy method when it comes to like the somatics and the movement and the shadow work and the inner child work so that we can really live in that wealthy from the inside out. Like that's bananas. I'm like, what the fuck? You're telling me that I don't got to niche down, put myself into a box. I get to actually embody all the things and share everything that I do in my life. And if I just own that fact and totally lead with my full on conviction that people are going to continue to hit me up and pay me to go do things that are so outside of the industry that I work in, because I don't have an industry, I make my own motherfucking industry. There was no past, so I fucking created it. Bro, that's not luck. That's purposeful positioning. So what separates the brands that stay stuck and booked out from the ones that become movements? Number one, radical ownership of multi-passionate genius. You're no longer trying to fit in some fucking box. You're actually owning your ADHD, multi-passionate, multi-dimensional self because you're just like, well, fuck it. And you're owning all of your quirks and your mistakes and why the reasons why you're here, because all of those things mean something. They didn't just happen by happenstance. It's not just by accident. Number two, your messaging that feels like a movement. Because now you're not just selling anything, you're leading a conversation and you're leading it with conviction. People don't lack talent, they lack conviction, okay? Knowing, and number 3, this is knowing exactly who you're talking to. This is not just demographics. Sure, people that want programs about marketing, or people that want fine line tattoos, or people that just want mixed media oil paints. No, it's a deep psychological connection. This is deeply psychological. You know who they are. You've lived it yourself. That's how good you know it. And if I may, again, I'm going to ask for consent. I'm going to talk about something that's really going to blow your fucking brains. And absolutely you're in. You should do it now. Okay? I'm asking for consent. Consent is sexy. And since I can't hear you, I'm just going to say you're saying yes. Otherwise, you're turning it off, and good for you. Turn it off. This is where Branded and Book comes in. I'm creating a whole new program for the elevated conversation. The baseline is getting booked out. We are talking about creating a movement, creating a brand so undeniable, so iconic, so yummy, juicy that people are talking about it at the fucking dinner table. They can't help but talk about you because now all of a sudden you're like, I'm building a brand that makes me famous, a business that pays me like one, and a fucking nervous system wired for wealth and freedom and soul expression. Because baby, I love to be soul expressed. Yes, I'm spiritual. Damn proud of it. So if you're ready to build a brand so powerful it shapes a culture, you're literally leading a cult. Sure. This is your invitation. In Branded and Book, we're going all in. We're turning your multi-passionate genius into a high-end brand. We're creating content that doesn't just add value. It makes people feel seen and elevating beyond just making money, but making fucking impact. This is for artists, all healers, all creative entrepreneurs who are just so tired of being put into a box, so tired of thinking that niching down's the way, so tired of just like, oh, booked out's the baseline. Like, I'm sorry, booked out's the goal. Like, booked out's just the fucking baseline. So if you want to join now, join now. Link in the show notes. Link at the bottom. Link is somewhere. Go fucking click on it. And if you've been in a program with me, at any time, and you have something awesome to say about it. Now, if you don't say anything. It's all good. You don't, or you can actually. You can just tell me the truth. I fucking honor full-blown honesty. I actually have received some recently, and I was all, thank you. I fucking respect that shit because it makes me better at what I do. So I honor it. If you've ever been in a space with me and you loved it and you really got something out of it or something of that nature, anybody that wants to send me a testimonial, I'll give you half off. And then I know some of you guys have been in my programs for like ever. So, been in a program with me. I'm going to give you 50% off just by sending a video testy, 30 seconds, doesn't need to be long, and we'll send you all the questions and all that good stuff. So, sending you lots of love. I got to go to yoga. I'm going to be late. Mama's got to stretch. Love you guys. See you in the next episode.